So it's been about a week and a half since I planted the seeds. So I just want to give you an update and then go through how I repot the seedlings into larger pots. So this is my greenhouse. I have mylar inside and on the outside just to reflect the light back. Here's the first series of seedlings that I repotted a few days ago. These are marigolds, orange marigolds. So they grow pretty fast, and you move them over pretty fast into larger pots because they outgrow the little cells. So we'll just go over what's growing in the greenhouse here. So most of these are flowers on the top shelf. You can see I have a bit of an algae problem because it's very humid on the top, and I'll show you how to resolve that issue. A lot of heat and a lot of humidity up on that top. These were newly planted, so they're not growing too much yet. These are a lot of coleus and other slower germination plants. And here's some other later to germinate types of plants. Okay, they're just starting to come up. So everything goes at a different rate. Don't expect everything to come up at once, obviously. Your tomatoes and cucumbers, they usually are the first to come up, and things like marigolds and mums. Okay, so everything comes up at different rates. But don't be disappointed if you don't have 100% germination. Sometimes you're going to have cells that don't produce anything. They either get waterlogged or they're just bad seeds. I think I had that with a couple of aster flowers, so the seeds there in the two middle rows didn't come up. So there you see the chart I created in the last video. And I'm going to transfer some zinnias into these small pots. So when you transfer into pots, you generally don't want to go into too much bigger of a pot. You kind of just want to transition into one that's maybe 1.5 to 2 times the size of its current space that it's growing in. And then from there you can go into large pots. But for now you just want to go into, a 3 or 4 inch pot, whatever you have. So you just want to put some potting soil in there, not garden soil. You want it to be pretty airy. Have a bit of vermiculite. Try to knock over your pots if you can too. So I'm going to be transferring these zinnias that you see there to the left into 6 pots. So you can see that not all the zinnias came up. There's one that's very small. I'm not going to use that. And there's another cell that didn't even germinate out. So the thing you want to do is just leave your soil dry, but make a nice big indentation and make it nice and deep, because you're going to be transferring the seedling and its dirt and root system in there very gently. So these self-watering trays you push up from the bottom. Traditional trays you'll just have to also push, but it will not be open on the bottom. These are open on the bottom, so it's a little bit easier. There you can see the root system, and just gently place it in. Again, very fragile at this point, so you don't have to be super careful, but just watch that you're not pushing on the actual plant. It could break pretty easily. So add some soil to the top on either side. Okay, take any big chunks, or just break up anything that's chunky that needs to be broken up, and then just kind of press down lightly. You don't have to make a big deal of making it too compact, because the root system is still in its early stages and needs to move through the soil, so don't compact it too much. Okay, move the next one over. Same thing, push down with a couple of fingers, make room for it. And zinnias are pretty fast growing seedlings, so I wanted to move those over so they have a better chance of growing bigger. And then I'm going to reuse those cells in that tray to grow some more zinnias. So again, these only take about 6 to 7 days to germinate and then grow to this height in about say 12. I think this was about 12 days after I planted them. So you want to move things into a little bit larger pots. Eventually the trays will come out of the greenhouse and you can put these pots in on just on the rack or on shallow trays. Okay, you can see I'm using this is an old, actually from a restaurant, a sushi platter. I save those trays because they're actually perfect for this purpose. They catch all the dirt and water, and even though they're round, you can fit quite a few number of pots. Okay, so just continue on with that. Now, at this stage I put them still under light, artificial light, when they're in these bigger pots, because it's still early spring. But you can put these in front of your window or on your window sill, or a place where you get quite a number of hours of daylight. So you don't have to put it still under artificial light at this point. You can put it in direct sunlight by the window. Okay, but for now I'm putting them in these trays, and then I have an old dome cover, and then a couple of shop lights that came with it. So we just want to water that in. Now the actual part around the root is already wet, so we're just kind of soaking the soil around the part that just came in. So do that and put the dome on top, and place the light bar on top. Okay, it's got good airflow. And then I put a little stick with OM is for orange marigold, and then ZN is zinnia. So these are the same 2-letter codes generally that I use in my charts to keep track of where everything is. Now I'm going to get rid of the soil that was in there, anything that's remaining. So the candy tuft flower that was, sorry, they were aster in the middle that didn't work. So the asters didn't come up, they were either waterlogged or the seeds were no good. So I took all that soil out, and I'm putting fresh soil in. So the soil that I took out, I can just put in my garden. I'm not going to reuse it, just in case there is any issues with it. So I'm just going to put fresh soil in and even that out, and then add fresh seeds. Because you might as well reuse these cells, and germination is such a short period of time anyway. So if you can get more flowers in the amount of time before the spring, or before planting in the garden, then why not? I also took the time to remove the middle tray and the fabric, and just clean that, give it a good rinse, and put it back in, just to give everything a fresh start. So on the left there you can see there's a bit of an algae problem, but I'll show you how to kind of mitigate that and stop that from getting any worse. I always do have that on the upper shelf. I do have a little fan that I run sometimes, but I didn't have use of that fan at the beginning, and that's why I did start to get some green algae, which can be a problem. It can take over the top surface of your soil and compete for nutrients, so you do want to control that if you can. But I'll show you that towards the end of the video. So I'm just adding some more zinnia seeds here in these first 2 rows. And the other 2 rows I have a chrysanthemum that's large and yellow, so that's one that I reseeded, and I'm gonna give that a shot as well. So the aster I may try a little bit later on, but it did not germinate the first time, so I may not bother, but we'll see. So there you can see the cells with the fresh soil, and here's the green algae problem. I'm going to show you how to kind of mitigate that with some ground cinnamon. So just regular cinnamon from your pantry, just give it a light coating over the green algae, and that will slow it down, if not eliminate it altogether, without affecting the plants. So it's a good tip to know if you already have green algae and it's kind of getting a little bit out of hand. People say you could scrape it off with a razor blade and all that, but when you do that, you risk cutting into the soil and potentially killing any a seedling that's just about to come up. So we'll try this method, and it has worked in the past. So the other thing I do is run a little fan, not all the time, just once in a while, and that kind of clears off the condensation, especially in that top shelf. The other shelves don't seem to have the problem with green algae, just the top, because all the hot air goes to the top. So thanks for watching, everyone. I'm glad you could see this update. I'll do another update in a few weeks. Please subscribe, stay tuned for more videos, and bye for now.